Hi, my name is Autif Kamal, and this is another logic and reasoning workshop. This one is on terms. Specifically, it's on formulating a simple definition. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact me at my Skype username, autif.kamal, or you can email me your questions at kautif@gmail.com. Alright, so I'll give you an example of why it's important to know how to formulate a simple definition. You might have heard of the pro-life, pro-choice debate, where those who are in the pro-life camp, they say that it is immoral to abort a fetus because a fetus is equivalent to a human being, and those who are in the pro-choice camp would say that the decision to abort a fetus should be entirely up to the mother. Okay? Now I'm just going to focus on the pro-life side of this. Now, in order for the claim that it's immoral to abort a fetus to be true, it must be known what a human is. You must have a definition of human. So you could start out with a human is an organism, where organism is simply a general category which human would fall under. Now, the only problem with that is it's too general. All it tells us is basically that a human is a living being. It's better than saying something like a human is a thing, because that essentially just says that humans exist. Because again, we need to know more than that. But still, this definition can be further specified. What kind of organism is a human? We would need that adjective. And in thinking about which adjective that is, you would want to basically pick out an adjective that applies to all and only humans and doesn't apply to some other organism. So for example, we could say that a human is a bipedal organism. That differentiates it from some organisms, but it doesn't differentiate it from kangaroos or certain primates. The best adjective that I could come up with is that a human is a self-reflective organism. In other words, a human is the kind of organism which identifies, analyzes, and evaluates its own thoughts. Okay, that's the adjective I use to differentiate it from all other organisms. And that is a simple definition. You don't have to stop there, though. You could go further by defining what it means to be self-reflective. And if you could define it in such a way that, number one, you identify the behaviors that are associated with or implied by being self-reflective. And if you could observe that somehow, say, like through some scientific means, and if you know that, if you could identify that a fetus is demonstrating those behaviors, then you could say, okay, so I guess a fetus is a human. But if a fetus does not demonstrate those self-reflective behaviors, then you could say, okay, a fetus is not a human, and for that reason you cannot say that it is immoral to abort a fetus because it is a human, because it wouldn't be a human. Okay, and that's an example of how knowing how to formulate simple definitions would basically end this debate one way or another. Okay, now I'll give you another example. So you have the simple question, what is a student? What does it mean to be a student? To start off, you need a general category. So you could say a student is a person. That's true. Every student is a person. But we want to differentiate them from all other types of people. We'd want to differentiate them from, like, say, working professionals or something. Not to say that there are not some working professionals that are also students, but the bottom line is you want to describe it in a way that it only describes students and nothing else. Okay? So you don't have to just use adjectives. You could also describe what it is that a student does. So then you could say a student is a person who studies. Okay? But a person could study for an exam and say not be like trying to formally obtain an education. They wouldn't be a student, they would just be studying. So then again, we need to further specify what kind of person this is. Not just a person who studies, but you could also say, like, well, where is it that that this person studies? A student. And then to specify further, you would say, well, a student is a person who studies at a school or higher education institution. Okay? So each time we specify a category. First we specified the kind of person that a student is. Then we specified the kind of act that a student does, which is study. And then we specified a category as far as the place is concerned, which is at a school or higher education institution. Okay? And it's that specifying of categories, whether it's the noun, verb, or a different noun, a place, that helps you formulate a simple definition one step at a time. Okay, now you try. You have what is a school? So what would be a definition for school? I'll give you a moment to work on that. If you need more time, you can pause the video. Otherwise, I will move on to the answer that I arrived at. Okay, so a school is an institution. Now, why say institution? Why not just say facility? Well, facility would be too general, because you could have someone who is learning maybe independently in a facility, but that wouldn't make that facility a school. A school is an institution because it's an organization with many different types of people. You have teachers, you have the principal, you have special resource teachers, you have language specialists, and so on. It's all of those people together that make a school an institution, and also that many schools are established by a government, so established publicly. That I think that would also make it an institution. And that's why we need to call it an institution rather than just a facility. Okay, now an institution is a general category for school, but it's not quite differentiated. We need to add something to differentiate it from other institutions, because certainly a school is not a court of law, and a court of law is an institution. So that's why we need to add something to differentiate school from other institutions. So what is that happens at an institution like a school? Well, a school is an institution in which children are educated. Okay? And it's specifying the type of institution in that way that differentiates it from a court of law. Okay? Now, if you'd like more practice, you can go to the link that I gave you to Career Builder. You can look for job titles that are familiar to you. You could start off by saying what the general category of a job title is, and then say maybe what a person does in that job title, where they do it, what the product of their job is, and so on. You could also do the same for everyday objects or different places. Just take some practice to define them, and eventually defining words will get easier for you. Now, next up, what I'll talk about is alternative words you can use for universal quantifiers, and that'll make it easier for you to formulate universal propositions. It'll give you more flexibility if you have those alternative words. And I'll talk about that next time. Alright, thank you.